But I suppose it's a good place to start in the sense of like having like been in combat sports and stuff like that. I guess you think of kind of all kind of scenarios, even if it is just like regular day life.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. It's obviously it's not like you get off every day on just thinking about violence. Just put the microphone on like violence and combat as a whole. But at the end of the day, the world can't be, can't be a violent place. So it's nice to have that backing and knowing that you can kind of, if needs be, you've got the ability to defend yourself or, others around you if you need to.
Yeah, man. So like, how did you get into Taekwondo? Like from the multiple kind of combat sports guys we've had on so far, it seems to be one of two stories. It's either to defend yourself or your parents have got you into it to like keep you active as a child and stuff like that. So which kind of avenue was it for you that got you into it?
It'd be more towards defending myself. There was an aspect of my parents being involved, but it was more my dad. He was wanted me to do some sort of sport. Tried football, but it wasn't my thing. Wasn't very good at it. Still ain't any good at it. But I wanted to do something anyway. And I just happened to stumble across the Taekwondo dojo at the time. I lived in Spain at the time, so it was just one of the things to happen to see it. And I was like, I want to try that. So I went to try it. I had been bullied a lot prior to that, so I was never any good at defending myself, But once I got into that, it stopped becoming the main purpose. It was always a big thing, probably I'd say, for the initial part of getting into martial arts. The biggest motivation was, one, to just be involved in something, and then two would be to just, in the simplest form at that age, it was I want to know how to fight, and that was it. So that was the two main reasons I'd say that I kind of got into it.
What age did you move to Spain? Because I mean, for a lot of people that maybe don't know you, that your younger life, you were over here, and then you went to Spain for a time, and then came back. Yeah,
so I moved to Spain when I was 7, and I spent 7 years out there. So I basically came back here when I was about 14.
Like half your life at that point, really, as well.
Yeah, big important portion of my life. So it was great, to go out there and just it's a different world, Okay, you go out on holiday and all that, and that's good, but you don't really get the full full experience. I mean, for me, I suppose, one of the best things would be taking the whole experience of learning another culture, and the biggest thing that I took from that was the language, so I became fluent in Spanish, and that's something I'll never be more thankful for. My parents put me in that position because it's a great skill to have, because a lot of people speak Spanish, whether it be South Americans or also Spain themselves, but as well as that, it's a handy thing to know, and to have. So it's a good experience. 100%.
When you can swear at me without me knowing what you're saying.
Pretty much, things like that were always handy.
Perks.
But no, it was always good. I mean, I've got a lot of family over here, so a lot of family had come out to see us as well, and it was nice to be able to let them get the full experience as well without the stress of having to understand and translate things, where they could just kind of look at me and go,
aye,
what did he say?
Yeah.
So no, it was good. It was really good, and I would never look back on it as a negative experience. Albeit I'm back here, multiple reasons for that, but it's my home at the end of the day.
Yeah. What part of Spain were you in, mate?
A place called Murcia, so southeast of Spain. So it's basically just under Alicante.
All right. Aye.
So really hot, nice part of Spain. It was a proper coastal area, Mediterranean. It was just good, brilliant culture, really rustic, place, really old culture. They were very big on that, especially in the school. We'd do a lot of excursions to, just to notable places that have a lot of history, and I'm into all that. I quite enjoy just learning about, where I am and how this place got to where it is. And it was always really good. The food as well. Food was amazing. I love my food.
Yeah, was that like all like kind of like local seafood and stuff like that, paella and all that type of food?
Yeah, you get a lot of that. But again, I suppose like any mother, a lot. But the mums they're very authentic with their cooking. They love to cook for you. And I had a lot of friends that were Moroccan. So that was another culture I got to experience some of, not to the extent of Spanish, but a very vast
Middle Eastern type
insight.
culture, yeah.
And I tell you what, again, a very, I'd say, misunderstood part of the world for the most part. You hear a lot of things. I'm not saying it just as a whole, but you hear a lot of things about some of them places because you get bad press about them.
Yeah, man.
Which I don't agree with. After having spent the time around the people I had, you get bad people anywhere. Doesn't matter where they're from, what background they're from. You get bad people. Plenty of them here, But
in the same street.
but you don't go saying all Scottish are scumbags. You don't. So no, couldn't have asked for more inviting. Inviting them, just the people as a whole. Everyone was inviting. Again, food seems to be one thing that always brings people together.
Yeah.
And it was one of them awesome things. Was a big part of it was, okay, it might not have riches and riches to back him, but we'll sit you down for a nice meal that we've made, and and that was awesome in itself, because it was just nice to again see how different things work. And I never participated in things like Ramadan, but I got to go. They have a massive party on it.
Yeah.
So I got to kind of go to that, and it was just awesome to see how they all kind of worked it.
Because I think that's like one thing that I definitely think mainstream doesn't like reflect on when it comes to like Islam, and that is like I actually learned this when I was watching a documentary on Habib the fighter.
Yep.
And he was talking about this like ancient Dagestan tradition they have of like, even if your worst enemy's at the door, you have to look after them and accommodate them and stuff like that. And then obviously once they're better, tell them to leave and whatnot. And you would never hear that on stuff like the BBC or something like that. They would always project that, like, the wars that we've been involved with in Middle Eastern countries and stuff like that. So, but it is cool when you actually get to like hear from people rather than just be told about people.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I think that's a good kind of lesson to learn in any kind of situation.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask is how was your because for anyone that doesn't know, Jamie and Conan are cousins and very close now, but obviously with Conan living in Spain for a big portion of his life up until this point, when he came back, or even when he was over in Spain, were you close during this period, or was it just from the distance and stuff? Because obviously we're talking about like pre-Zoom and all this type of stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we would be on the phone actually quite a lot, wouldn't we?
A lot.
And on the PlayStation, we would play COD a lot and stuff.
Exclusively, yeah.
Well, it was important to do that though, because like there would be stuff like downloading music. Like you phone me like, oh, how do I do this?
Yep.
Like just little things like that, and because like I only went out to see him the once, I think. You know what I mean?
The whole 7 years, yeah.
Yeah, because it was kind of difficult to sort of get out there, and obviously, his mum ran a bar, and his mum and dad ran a pub, so they're like it's a really sort of busy time, and so, but yeah, like we would always be on the phone and stuff like that. That was always important.
As a family, we're always really close. Just all of us, it's just the way things are. Okay, we fight and bicker like any family, but that's part of it, But no, I mean, having been over there, it's a fair distance to be away, especially at that age. You're learning a lot, you're experiencing a lot of new things. And obviously, I always looked up to Jamie, my older cousin, taught me a lot, shaped me a lot to what I am now. So yeah, it was hard being away, but I came back on holidays, regularly for the last 4 years or so. I was out there. I would come back at least once a year. I was back, and yeah, it was nice to just come back and remember, how everything was
and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, albeit totally. when I first left Scotland, it wasn't. For me, it was just get the hell away from here, because I had a lot of, a lot of stuff going on with being bullied and things like that. But again, being in touch with family was a really big thing.
And every time you come back, though, it's like you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, that was it. It was never. It wasn't
like you'd left.
Yeah, it wasn't like strange.
No,
it was. I mean, it was one of them weird things that you kind of start talking to people to, what you've been up to, and it's a bit different to your normal. What you've been up to, nothing.
Yeah,
I've not seen you for a year, so maybe we can elaborate on that.
Definitely. Yeah.
See, like back in the day, though, like you'd be on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And this is when we were playing COD, right? So it'd be like dial up fucking
the struggles.
So like we'd be on the phone, and then you get a shout, his mum would be like, I'm needing the phone, and mum would
honestly, that's it, man.
So you could barely and then, or we would be at COD or something, like you'd be so close to a nuke.
Yeah.
Like
and boom, the phone would go.
Yeah.
And most of the time it was his mum phoning to speak to my mum, and I was
honestly
raging.
Thing is, we spent the best part, I'd say, of what it was like a year or two trying to get my PlayStation to download it in the first place. I could not get online. I could not get on like the PSN network.
So like
that's at the time that's what we were on with PlayStation. Just couldn't. I don't know why something would not take. It would go to download it. It would generally take like 3 days, and then just nothing would happen. It would just crash at the end, and I'm just like, I gave up in the end.
This is like early internet though.
yeah,
like,
very. I mean, we're talking
slow speeds.
We're talking probably 2008 or something.
Yeah,
you know,
like really
2009 or so, because it was MW2, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, 2009
classic.
would have been that time.
Yeah, the best one.
When we got there in the end, it was an epic time, you know.
And I think that was like just this kind of turning of technology as well, because the iPhone had recently just came 100%. Out, and dial-up was dying out at that time, and then obviously know what we have now.
I can very well remember at the time as well, like getting onto the PlayStation, and even to the extent where Jamie had to actually set up a PSN account because we couldn't get that to function right, you know. So he set all that up from here, punted the details over, and we finally got it all squared up, and then it was just the daily challenges of trying to play an actual solid game, you know, without the break-ups in between.
He got pretty good though.
I hear we you know, we got, you know, yourself, like anyone I suppose at that time that was fortunate enough to actually experience the Modern Warfare 2 era. Let's be honest, that was the go-to era at the time. I mean,
you're savage with a throw knife.
A much simpler time. Sorry.
Yeah, man.
If only. If only.
The golden age, but also quite a brutal age. I mean, we all remember the lobbies and stuff.
Here.
Those were not good places to be sometimes.
I mean, it's maybe nice to think of going back to when my priority at the time was having given up prestige legitimately, and the sheer goal was just to get into a hacked lobby to just try and get. It actually caught me out. Remember that? I got caught out quite bad. Someone offered to give me.
I warned you.
Yeah. There's another learning experience. So. Big cousin saying, you know, we're in a lobby, and I'm like, Jamie, this guy's offering me highest level, full prestige, everything unlocked. Nice. Yeah, he just needs my details and that. He's like, don't. I'm like, no, but you'll sort it. Come on, I'm quite young at this point. And he's like, no, don't. So I messaged him on another account. It's Conan. What are you doing? I was like, my account's been stolen.
Rinsed.
Guy just took my shit, took my details, and basically sent me a message on my own account. You know, I can't remember what he'd done, but he'd sent me a message and just basically said, that's your account, mate. See you later.
Yeah, like game, set, match. Scumbags that did that though, to be honest.
But it happened, and I suppose that's what you get when your priority was to prestige.
Yeah,
these were these hack lobbies where you go in,
and then you jump out, straight away.
Jump out.
I mean, the guy we met a guy in the end.
No, it was
Chaos. Was it
Reflex?
Yeah, he was awesome. Honestly, to be fair, think about it now. Maybe it seems like odd. I'm sure the guy was like a 30-year-old Geordie or something. Man, he just sounded like well old. He was right.
I think he got everybody.
But every single person we mentioned, like it was first start with me and Jamie. It was Jamie first, and then me, and then Stuart. Obviously, we were all excuse me, we were all pretty close. So the game was obviously one of our main avenues of being able to
even contact.
Exactly that. And that was it. I suppose that again, there was only, you know, using our wee headsets at the time to actually be able to speak, you know. And again, it was just an avenue for it. But he got us all in, and we all just had a laugh, and it's a good time. You know,
so like when you would come over, on a holiday or something, or even when you came back, because we were playing COD all the time, it was almost like, you know, you spoke to them every day anyway. So there was no difference.
So, what age did you come across Taekwondo when you were in Spain?
So, to estimate, about 9 or 10, give or take. So, I was about near 10. Because I can remember it wasn't long after I started. As I said, one of the main reasons I started was obviously due to the bullying. Now, I got bullied here
in Spain as well.
I got bullied here for silly things, you know, just horrible people in the area that just.
Kids are cruel, aren't they? Yeah.
And I mean, they were really cruel, you know. And again, I was quite soft, so. I was soft, I was 7, you know, but I was soft, and I wouldn't run away, but I would never be able to fight back.
Yeah.
So it was just, and I hated it. I hated the aspect of just not being able to just go out. And so I was quite a reserved person, I'd say, at that age. I'd rather just stay in, you know.
Like introverted.
Yeah. So that's just one of the things, you know. I don't say it affected me too much, but at the time, it was just the way things were. So, but yeah, going over to there, you wouldn't think it, but there was a lot. I think a lot of it was to do with me being foreign.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
There was a lot.
Yeah, the area.
I'm not even joking. There was a story. My first day in Spain, when we moved into the house. Because our house, when we first moved out, the place where Jamie and the rest of my family visited us was more of a temporary place we were staying for like a year. wasn't the best place, but you need must, because our house was still currently getting built when we moved out there. So when that eventually got built, we moved in. And I swear to God, the first day we moved in, I seen all the other kids playing outside. Ages with me. So I was like, I'll go. And one of them happened to be English. Not a nice kid though.
Yeah.
So I went over and introduced myself, and then they all started, just the usual hazing and I having a laugh. And I was all right, okay. And then I got hit first day there. And I can always remember going in, and my dad's uncle, who I call uncle as well, Uncle Will, who's a very old school Glaswegian guy, doesn't take any shit.
Yeah.
I walked in, bubbling and greeting, face on me. What's wrong with you? I've just been punched. He's like, what are you doing here? Get back out there, and I can't. That was it. And I always, sounds silly and small, but I always remember that.
Yeah.
That being like a very key moment to me going, yeah, why can't I? Why should I be hit and have to walk off? And it sounds small, but it was always a thing that I remember looking back on and going, no, I want to be the person that can go, no. So yeah, and then with all that kind of bullying and that, the next thing that happened, I was about 10. I got alopecia, so my hair started falling out. I didn't know at the time what it was. I just remember I used to be quite into skateboarding as well, and I used to wear a beanie all the time. It was like 30 degrees in Spain, and one day I came out of school, took my beanie off, it was like full of hair. So I was just sitting there and kind of going, oh, well, 10-year-old, you're like, oh, how's? I remember my dad saying to me, it's just the heat. Don't wear a beanie, that's fine. And as the kind of months went on, and we were talking in the space of 3 months, literally I lost all my hair to the extent, still had small parts of hair, but the majority of it was gone. And that was quite a daunting thing, but training still pursued in between there, but that was a coping mechanism for me though, was the training. The training definitely pulled me away from all the... Again, I got bullied at the time, but I was more concerned about my own health at this point, because I didn't have a clue what it was. And the doctors couldn't figure it out either. You'd think it's quite a simple thing for them to understand. I mean, I was getting blood tests, stool tests, you name it. But no, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So that was concerning in itself. It sounds bad, but that actually became a bonding thing for me. My dad was as a normal thing then, was when we'd go to the hospital, always me and him, we'd then go to all the wee tapas places in between, and we'd sit and that was my treat.
Yeah,
but that was a good thing for me and him, because he was always really involved, in my training especially. So that kind of wee events are things that always stuck with me, where he would.
And that's even as someone as an adult going through that, that's a massive self-conscious thing to go through, especially even though like you're saying you're 10 years old, like you're not even like adolescents yet and stuff like that,
Yeah, it took me a long time to. I'm perfectly settled with it now, because I mean I'm 23. I
don't think you look like
well, this is it, and everyone says the same. Anyone that's known me, that's even just known me from coming back, and they didn't know me prior, would probably never know me with hair now. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't really do much about it until I was about 16. I never shaved my head part of that. I shaved it when I was about 11 or 12. It got really bad. I just looked horrendous. I just got fed up. So I remember asking my mum for some euros to go up to the hairdressers and ask them to just shave the whole lot off. And following that, the rest of my hair just fell out as a whole. So I had no eyelashes, no eyebrows, no arm hair, just anywhere. It was all gone. And again, couldn't explain why. It just got worse. And then obviously it's an autoimmune disease, is what alopecia is. So again, there was no explanation why, and I've never actually seen a reason as to why, but my appetite started kind of being messed with.
Oh, really? It goes to like
I started fighting. I was struggling. You'd look back, and I'd imagine even my mum, if I asked her at the time, would have probably just thought it's just a kid being a kid, or not thought much of it. But I look back now and I go, maybe it was a problem, because there's a few photos on my mum's Facebook, and you can see literally the bones in my shoulders sticking through my dressing gown. My eyes were all sunken in, and I just looked like I looked like terminally ill.
Do you remember that photo of you with a cast on?
Yeah.
Remember how skinny you were? I think you were.
That was actually me starting to put weight on again, to be fair. That was me starting to like get back into skating and eating shit, I suppose. But I'd be putting weight on, and that's how bad it was. I mean, you look at me there, I was skinny. I was dead skinny. But I didn't do any like sort of heavy training at the time. And I actually took a break from Taekwondo and that kind of intermittent because I just had a lot else going on, you know, and unfortunately the training then. I should have kept it up because it would have been a better avenue to kind of concentrate.
Like a release.
Yeah.
Sometimes your body needs a break.
Yeah, 100%.
But I had all sorts of things coming from everyone, you know, a lot of influence, like, oh, maybe you should stop, or no, keep going. And, you know, in the end, I kind of just went, right, I'll stop. I'm going to stop for a while. I'll get back to it. And that's what I've done, you know. So I did stop for a wee while, and then I went back when I was, I don't know, early 12 or so. 13, sorry, because it wasn't long before I moved back here. Excuse me. So,
no worries, man. This is what editing is for.
We're getting there. Yeah, there we go.
I'm just about to say, now your voice does not work.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say, right, perfect. There we go. So, sorry, right. So, 12, 13. I two styles of Taekwondo, okay? So you get WTF, which is World Taekwondo Federation, and you get ITF, which is International Taekwondo Federation. At the time, I didn't know that. I just knew of WTF. That's one you see in the Olympics on TV, you know. So it mainly bases off of kicking.
Okay.
So it's more focused around from the sparring side of things, which you're fighting, obviously, it's more based around a sport. It's more of a sporty aspect than and it's kind of progressed that way anyway. So that's the style I was training at the time. And the way it worked in Spain, they're quite serious about their training. So I'm not saying they're not here, but there it was very serious. So even at that age, you started off in the general kind of school where you just kind of done a bit of everything, see what you were good at, and they would then move you on to whatever side you prospered at, you know. So whether it be sparring or patterns, you know, they kind of split you up on there. And providing you were interested and you were at that level, they would then put you in a competition team, which is essentially what it sounds like. You'd be training a lot harder and solely for the point of competition. I mean, even grading became a very minimal thing at the time. It was just like, no, you can just compete, you know. And that's where I started really enjoying Taekwondo because, I mean, we had all sorts of, we used to travel obviously a lot to compete. And one of the best memories I've got so far, you know, to date, and this is one of the cool things I suppose that comes along with these kind of activities that you can get involved in, you know, was at that level of competition. We were competing wherever we could, you know. And again, at that age, one of the things we've done was probably about 40 of us or so, I think, went on big team, all on a coach, and we went from the south of Spain up to the south of France, to Marseille. So I can't remember exactly how many hours it was, but it was a lot of hours on the bus. It was a cool experience, though. You know, just there was no parents really. It was just your coaches who essentially were like parents themselves.
Built that kind of relationship with you.
Yeah, you do become really, when you're at that kind of level, you do become really acquainted with your trainers, and you know they become almost like a second kind of parent figure to you because, well, they're you know, anything that was going on, you know, you could still approach them about it. But yeah, as I said, they trained us really hard. And there was speculation in my doctor visits at the time, if you will, or hospital visits, that the stress of competing at that level was affecting my hair loss. And I can remember at the time sitting with my dad and just kind of saying, "Yeah, I'd rather compete than have a head of hair at this point." Like, you know, it's.
Was there ever a sense of nerves going to compete when you first started? Just because was you still in like a time of where maybe you hadn't switched the mindset of like I can fight back and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah. I would say generally without question, my whole time doing WTF Taekwondo, sorry. So that would have been basically my whole time training in Spain, essentially. Not once did I compete and feel at ease as I do, or as at ease as I do now. The nerves are always there, and actually, I always say to a lot of the kids as well when they're going to compete for the first time with a competition. I'll say, as I said, a wee couple months back or a month back, sorry. And a lot of them haven't competed before, and they're kind of getting closer to the, you know, you kind of got the day goes on, and they're getting a bit nervous, and you're like, "You nervous? Yeah. It's normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah,
honestly." You think worse if you're not nervous, to be honest with you. But yeah, at that point, I couldn't deal with it very well. And it was annoying because I used to train really hard and really well. I mean, at that age, if you see me training, you'd be like, kids throwing you like all these spinning kicks, and I was accurate, I was fast, strong, little skinny kid, but I was good. But But when it came to putting it into action, I just couldn't. I had the same in the aspect of even in fights, in unfortunate fights that I kind of been in at school, having started high school at that point. I don't know how many times I got beat on just because, I'd still, at this point, I'd give a better shot at defending myself, but I only knew how to kick. And a lot of kids would just kind of cut in,
close the distance,
and just get on top of you and do a typical school round fight and get on top of you and just pummel you, Yeah, same as in the actual competition side of things. I didn't know how to deal with it properly, so I just kind of balled up and panicked, and that was it. So yeah, at the time, it was a big issue for me. It was, even though I still hadn't kind of gathered the whole grasp of actually knowing I could fight, or I could defend myself to the extent I had to. So yeah, it took me a while to grasp that,
It's one thing that continue. I mean, it's probably a bit of naivety on my part, but it's one thing that continues to amaze me from having people that are involved in combat sports. And it's always the same story of, I get really nervous before fights, and even when we had Aiden Stephen on, dude's literally on the verge of trying to get in the UFC and stuff like that. And even he's like saying, before 5 seconds or 5 minutes before I'm meant to have a fight, I'm like, can I do this? And it's like, it's not scared of getting hurt because you kind of know what you're getting into. It's just the performance of looking like a bad fighter or whatever, So
it's a really difficult thing. And I think any fighter at any level, any martial art, will probably have an answer, maybe in a different format, but the same end result. And I mean, I've trained with Aiden. The guy's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. I mean, as a coach, brilliant. As a training partner, awesome. And as a competitor or a fighter, you will, outstanding. The guy is talented.
Yeah, man.
And that's it. You look at all these guys that are amazing at what they do, and you think, oh, they're just fearless.
Yeah,
which they are. But the nerves are always still there.
Yeah, they're still human at the same time.
But as you mature as a fighter, I believe you do then become more acquainted to using them, and actually, it's horrible. I mean, the feeling before you actually feel like you're going to be sick. I think it's different for everyone, but in some way or other, it's butterflies. You get really bad butterflies for your fight. I get quite caught up in my own head before a fight. But I just keep my music on. That keeps everything flowing. Keep loose. Everyone's got their own coping mechanisms. That's one of mine. I like to just be mobile and get my head in. I know what I've got to do. And then again, the same goes as when you actually start to fight the fight itself. Keeping that mentality of everything you've trained is difficult. I find myself a lot, if you get in your head a bit too much, which even I'd still do now, you can hurt your performance slightly. You feel more tired than usual. You feel really heavy.
The mind's a powerful thing, isn't it?
And it's a hard thing to escape. I think any sort of person that's competed in any sort of combat sport will tell you the same. It's the same with anything, really. Any sort of sport. You can do all the training, but then when you go to put it in practice, it can be really hard sometimes to transfer exactly how you train. To me, I said you can be outstanding in training. You're stamina at a peak performance level, but then putting it in practice sometimes can be really difficult because it's different when your head's playing a lot more on you. So you're in, like the setting. I'll just go for a standard kind of setting of a Taekwondo tournament, if you will. You've got a variety of mats, say between 1 to 4, and there'll be different events going on each mat. You then got a stand of people watching you. You've got superior ranked coaches or instructors, if you will, or just other competitors watching you, gauging you, seeing where you're going. If you're just one of these people that's happy to just kind of go through the motions, or if you're there to seriously progress to a high level and really, really run with it and see how far you can go. You do see the differences, and that's fine. Everyone does it for different reasons, and that's why obviously we're discussing as we are how I kind of got into it. And yeah, I mean, for me, competition became a big thing.
When you're competing, can you tell if someone's doubting themselves on the other side?
100%. Yeah.
What kind of tells would it take to
body language? Would be the biggest thing. Someone who's, and again, I suppose the flip side of that being me saying 100%. Maybe some people disagree because someone could be giving you fake body language. I suppose kind of put you in the mindset that you've got this 100% without doubt. But someone who's never really too sure of themselves, for me anyway, I would normally gauge by they're just not very mobile. They're very
stagnant,
static, and you can tell they're kind of looking about, or they're not looking about at all. They're kind of looking down. It's a horrible thing to say you're looking for that. I'm not looking for that and encouraging the whole thing of someone being in that mindset. But you can normally tell. On the flip side, I like to kind of know when someone's not in the right frame of mind, because not so much for who I'm competing against, but who I'm competing with, i.e. my team. Because if they're not in the right frame of mind, I kind of think, especially if you've got some sort of experience competing anyway, and you're maybe got someone who's a bit more novice to it, you've got a responsibility almost to approach them and try to help them.
Yeah, because it's an advantage, right?
100%.
They know it, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So more towards that aspect than as opposed to spotting someone who I'm going to fight that's not feeling up to it. That doesn't so much really bother me. It's more so I can spot, especially the young kids that are kind of getting into it. Some of these kids are quite young, talented, but it's very easy to get caught up in your own head, especially when you've got all these people watching you. Some people are just made for it. They don't care. They're happy with crowds, it doesn't bother them. But some people,
there's different personalities.
For the majority, crowds can be a problem. And you can get some pretty good crowds at these competitions, especially if you're not used to it, at training, and there's sometimes the parents come and watch, but it's a small number compared to all these other people you don't know. That's another thing I try to get across to people, but they don't know you, They just go out, perform like you would, and learn from it.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, it's certainly, it's an advantage to be able to spot it, but more for being able to help your own teammates now.
Do you think that's ever affected any of your performances in the past? Maybe early on.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely hindered myself a few times. Even at this past one, I got a good result. But I think with just being so long out of practice, it was all really came back.
In the deep end.
But it came back on the day, at the minute, on the hour of doing it. It didn't come back.
That
the
fresh
weeks
feeling
up to,
again.
I mean, I only had 4 weeks training prior to that one.
And then just one
clean house. I want to say that was 2 weeks of actually just training, getting back into things, because that was the arrangement. I spoke to Grandmaster Williamson, who was kindly had me back. Didn't expect him to, because I'd had wee breaks in between prior, between the ages of coming back here. So about 14 to 17, I kind of been on and off, because I was trying to see where I was at in my martial arts. Not a great thing to do, bounce about places.
Yeah, were you looking for like gyms to see where you're comfortable at?
It's not even any of the gym's faults. I just didn't know where I was at myself. I like to say any of the gyms I trained at were very, very good at what they do, and very good coaches. And so as I said, I never reflected negatively against any of them for my decisions of moving on to other places. And again, I had a lot of personal things that kind of incorporated to me not training as consistently as I'd like to, but everyone goes through these personal things, and it's different for everyone, I suppose. I had a lot going on between that age, especially between 17 and now. I had a lot.
Life happens though, man.
Yeah, a lot of figuring out. And again, one of the biggest things I think it's for anyone, sure anyone that trained from a young age can agree. See, when you start working, you've got bills, you've got a house, and that's a difficult thing to still work your training in. But it's important to. Yeah. Because I stopped training for 5 years. And I mean stopped. I stopped Taekwondo, I stopped going to the gym. I done a wee bit of bodyweight stuff at home. But see, the toll that took on my mental health in that time was serious. It was very, very serious. And you can there was other aspects, but the outlet of having been at the gym, whether it be in one way or another, because you get a lot of benefits from training,
It's 100%. Even if it's not like martial art, even just like the gym itself. Yeah. Like I can speak from personal experience of like losing weight and shit like that. Yeah. I feel 100 times better than what I did when I was fucking 400 pounds. You know what I mean? But I suppose in a way, what was like the trigger of coming back to Taekwondo then? I mean, like, was it the work and like kind of growing up in life that just kind of stopped it to begin with, or was there other things that were going on as well? I
mean, there's some stuff happened at about the point where I stopped, about 17. Quite a few things had happened that I didn't expect to have happened at that kind of age, long story and everything. But anyway, whatever, these things had happened, and I just remember being a bit lost at the time, not really knowing where to go. And again, much like earlier in life when my alopecia got to quite a serious point, the last thing on my mind was training. So I just kind of bottled down and focused on the immediate things. So then, I think that became the primary problem. And then after that, it was like, right, I'm working. I was working at QuickFit at the time. I was earning an okay wage, but I wanted to enjoy myself more than, I wanted to have nicer cars, all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't afraid to do the work, but the wage just wasn't there. So I took on a second job. I done the door security for a while. And so again, you think about, between 18 and about 21 or 22, I think it was. But whenever COVID kind of hit, that was when I kind of stopped because the work just wasn't there, obviously. But I was doing practically most weekends, if not every weekend. So I'd finish at QuickFit at 6 o'clock on a Friday night. I'd then go start the doors for 9 o'clock till closing time. Back QuickFit the Saturday morning for another day shift, up until, so it'd be 8:30 till
it's almost like a 24/7 kind of gig.
And back up to do the doors again. And then we worked Sundays as well, QuickFit, albeit it was lesser hours on a Sunday. And then I took on a different role at work, so I took on a more serious role of supervisor. A lot more involved in it than you think. It's quite an involved role. So I was coping, but it was a lot of focus.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I loved doing the doors. I liked working the two jobs. It gave me a good sense of pride. That I could go out there, put in a shift, and I was quite happy to do that.
Kept you busy and all that.
100%. But then after when COVID kind of hit, and the shift started kind of bouncing back a bit, and my badge is coming up for renewal because your badge has obviously got a certain amount of time before it has to be renewed.
Aye.
And when that kind of came back round, I didn't feel like I hadn't lived. I feel like I kind of missed out on a few things. It sounds silly, but even just wee nights out with my mates and stuff like that. I'm not really a massive drinker, but I like a good night out, even just something in my cars as well. So even just going out in the cars. So I kind of noticed myself seeing friends and even just family doing things. And the amount of times I get asked so long to do something, oh no, I'm working, I can't. And that could be, whether it be doing the doors or whether it be, I just kind of felt like I need to kind of find a better.
You almost feel like you got institutionalized in the kind of working life.
Yeah, and again, for someone who enjoys working, it was quite annoying and daunting almost to sit back and go, yeah, but why? Why to this level? Why can't I just work to not an average amount, but a sensible amount, make a living, enjoy what I do, but have a good social life as well. And that's where I put my focus on for that last while. I was at QuickFit for a good while. I was there over 4 years. And it was good. I enjoyed it there. But I kind of got to a point where I wanted to progress a bit more. So I moved jobs to another garage with much better expandability for myself to expand in experience and training wise, just better jobs. And then along with that came money was better as well, but more than anything, I now finish at 4:30.
Yeah. So
and I
more
only
spare
work
time.
Monday to Friday essentially. Occasional Saturdays are optional if the work's needed. But then that brings me back to how I got back into Taekwondo. Was I started that in January. I think by April, when I'd passed my trial period there and I knew they were happy with me, I was happy with the job, and this was going to be a new routine for me. I had more time to myself, and I was like, right, let's get back on track. Let's get back to training. Let's start doing something with yourself, because having hobbies and that's nice. And I would say Taekwondo is a hobby, but for me, it's more.
Yeah, it's more serious.
It's more serious than that. It's a bit more of a passion, and because you can get some really good sort of attainable goals. That you have to put in some good hard work for in Taekwondo, but it's different for everyone. As I said, everyone takes it differently. Some people it's just training. It's just somewhere to be, and for other people it's a lifestyle, and I do believe it is a lifestyle, because there's a lot more to it than just going, kicking and punching. Yeah. There's a lot more to it.
Remember when you were at QuickFit?
Yeah.
Remember I said to you, I was like, you need to get back into training, because I could see from him that there was just something missing from him. When I'd speak to him, obviously I know him better than people.
Yeah.
And I could tell there was something missing from him. I was like, need to get back into training here. And then you were saying, I would love to, but I just can't right now.
Just burn out a lot,
Is that the first time that you'd actually kind of been able to think in that period of time when you started that new routine? Because there was that spare time in your hands to actually think, I should get back into this rather than...
anyone who knows me close enough anyway would happily agree that when I took on this new job, my whole persona and mentality changed in a really good way. I was back to being more myself. I was back to being a bit more. I'm not saying my whole time there was miserable, but it wasn't. It wasn't as I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be.
Sin City for you.
So no, I'd say definitely starting that new job was a big step for me to start kind of progressing and moving on in all aspects.
So I've watched through all your recent Taekwondo matches. Congratulations on the gold medals,
Thank
by
you
the way,
very much.
and previous competition as well. And you actually summed this up perfectly when we were having the conversation last night. If I could describe your fighting style in one word, it would be aggressive and to overwhelm people. Like that's what, as me as an outsider just looking in.
Yeah.
Is that, I suppose, in a way, I was going to ask if that was part of your personality, but now that we've kind of went through your kind of early life and that, I suppose it's more, is it that whole I can fight back kind of thing in your head when you...
I suppose, as I said, there was a turning point for me, which we were still winning in Spain at the time, but basically I used to get teased a little bit by one of my mates at school. Really, really good guy. I'm still mates with him now. He's from England actually, but he stayed in Spain, much like myself. A guy called Lewis. Kind of back and forth, kind of banter. A lot of the guys in different martial arts will do it between themselves with different styles. And he done ITF Taekwondo, I done WTF. So I do Taekwondo as well. It's all right. He said, I do proper Taekwondo. So I was like, what are you on about? And then he explained to me his style of Taekwondo, and I was like, I've never seen it. So I didn't have any clue. I was a bit shocked, So he said, come along. And I was like, oh, no, they wouldn't have that. He said, no, come along. So I was like, right. So I went along to one of their sessions and just fell in love straight away. It was essentially the gym that I went to. It was a gym called JiuJitsu, and that was run by a father and his son. Two very talented and very authentic practitioners of Taekwondo. And the way they carried themselves and the way they carried the training was much similar to. It was quite a hard pace, but it produced champions. And it wasn't until I went in there, and now that style relies more on you wear less gear. That's the one you've seen me competing in. You wear just more gloves, feet protection, head guards. You got shin guards and that. But in WTF, you've got to wear like a body protector. And as I said, it's more aimed at kicks, whereas in ITF, you do have the ability to punch as well. Albeit it's just straight punches. Or it's supposed to be you can hook, but it's got to be a certain variation, You
can bend the rules a little bit.
Yeah, there's rules set, but for the most part, it's straight punches. So when I first seen this style, it was almost I know it sounds silly because it's still Taekwondo, but it was a progression for me because I'd really grown a love for the martial art at this point, and to see this style, which ITF's got a really big, it's got a really big focus on the roots of ITF as well. There's a lot of theory to ITF as a whole and the history of it that you have to know for your gradings and just general knowledge and practice. And so it's quite handy to know these things, but it's really nice to kind of see it as it's not just a place you go and kick and punch. This is what I'm trying to say. It's a place where I got a lot of life lessons, even in WTF, but I didn't notice it all until I started ITF. And I only trained with this club for about 6 months before I moved back here. But what I learned in that 6 months about myself, where I could go, was levels.
You literally took Taekwondo to like the kind of next level in your mind, like I'm going to
I mean, because the sparring style to me was way more intense. You're being punched in the face, a lot more to defend, and there's a lot more to it changes your fighting dynamic altogether because you've got to fight differently. In WTF, there was a very low-handed, leaning forward kind of
more danger because you're kind of presenting.
Whereas in ITF, it was a much more
kind
original
of
hands
kind of
up.
guard,
So it was a much more, as I said, to me, it looked more authentic than actual fighting, and not so much of a sport. It was more authentic to fighting itself. A much more, you can see the roots of it was still very strong, and it is still now. You would be surprised that a lot of our sessions, some people maybe get bored with that, but this is where you need to appreciate the roots of it. Our sessions start at the basics. Tuesdays mainly we'll start with when we do patterns. On Tuesdays, Thursdays we do sparring, but on our lessons will start with the very basic things that you first learn when you start Taekwondo. So we have an oath, say at the start of our class, and then we carry out our basically set, things we first learn, so our first movements. So parallel stance punch, sitting stance punch. It's all compound fundamental movements.
Is that the stuff that like competitors like showcase at like events and stuff like that?
That's it, but in a more experienced form, I suppose. A more So basically, what you're referring to would be the patterns, which is where you carry out a set series of movements that are designed to be almost not simulation, but basically a breakdown of techniques in Taekwondo that are essentially it's using as a self-defense mechanism, but it goes through different blocks, stances, punches, all that's to do with range finding. Every pattern has a specific meaning, and and as I said, this just shows you how compound and how deep ITF actually goes. It's very authentic, and there's a lot more to it. Every pattern has a meaning. You learn a lot of the Korean meanings for the moves that you're carrying out. So the fundamental movements we carry out, it just shows you how what I'm looking for.
Just kind of like how far the history goes back.
I mean, because Taekwondo started as a military martial art. It was the Koreans that obviously used it as and it wasn't. This is how our grandmaster always explains it. Obviously, we use it as a martial art, a competition sort of thing, but it was used as a lethal self-defense. That's what it was. It was lethal self-defense for the military, for close-hand combat, obviously. If you look at a lot of the movements, we perform them a certain way, but we've had a few of the breakdowns of why and what these movements are used for, and then you understand how they're supposed to be lethal, or how they could be lethal, sorry. Because I mean, you see a lot of the black belts when they get to a high level of breaking. For example, breaking is one of the aspects of competition. Well, they break boards, but they also break bricks.
Yeah.
Bricks, takes a lot of skill to do that.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, a fair amount of power as well. But if people see you breaking bricks, it's like, oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And it's normal. You probably wouldn't know it if you seen the guy in the street that one of these guys is actually a grandmaster. You look at him and you go, oh, you're a run-of-the-mill person, and little do you know that in his spare time, this man's breaking bricks and
punch holes through your house.
Yeah, honestly, it's amazing.
Sounds like a Jedi or some shit.
This is one of the things I do like about Taekwondo as a whole. For my personal experience, anyway, I've never noticed to be there's not a lot of boisterous kind of activity. There's not a lot of
egos.
There's not. That's exactly that. There's not a lot of egos in it. It's more, everyone's a lot more grounded and a lot more well-rounded. And again, whereas the lessons that you learn through Taekwondo, there's a lot of things you can use for your daily life. And I'd say one of them, a few of them, being you learn a lot about discipline. That's one very big thing you do learn, is obviously to do with the aspects of discipline. As a person, you just begin to understand more what you're actually capable of. And I mean, you've got five tenets of Taekwondo that obviously we train following them. And that's obviously what I've got tattooed on my arm there. So they essentially go courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit. And it's
powerful, man.
The reason they're there is exactly that. It means a lot to me. And I actually got that when I wasn't training, because I still applied them.
Still took lessons from it, like outside of the...
I still applied them values to my daily life, and I do even now. It's because they actually mean something to me as a... You used to read through them and it's like, oh, it's just one of them things that's part of training, but it's not. If you actually break it down, understand what they mean, you realise how much more there is into it, and you meet a lot of really good people as well through martial arts,
That's awesome, because obviously I think with like fans and stuff like that, when they see combat sports athletes, they just think of like, oh, it must be awesome, be able to like knock someone out or like tap someone out or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to see that it's been an overall great thing in your life in many more ways than just the actual ability to defend yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is why I always kind of go to the point of trying to explain every martial art's equally great in its own way, but it's all catered for each person. Everyone's different, Okay, you get mixed martial arts, but everyone still has a foundation of where they started. You ask any competitor that competes in mixed martial arts, more than anything, you'll see it. They have they've definitely started somewhere that got them into this whole idea of, right, I want to go to the next level. You know, because let's be honest, mixed martial arts is everything.
It's the new kind of wave as well, right? It's kind of taken over boxing as the main combat sport.
100%. I mean, obviously, boxing is never going to lose. It is the authentic. You know, it's the hand-on-hand combat. It is the authentic kind of, you know, if you want to say martial art, I suppose, or combat sport. Sorry, but it is the authentic way of hand-on-hand combat. You know, that's where it all started. Let's be honest, hands. You know, but yeah, I think MMA, for example, is a very cool, you know, development in martial arts because it allows so many different people from different practices and backgrounds to kind of come and try their ability at, well, let's be honest, the highest competition level you can really go to in martial arts.
And it was cool to see like the ground level stuff, like even like if you look back at stuff like UFC 1 when you've got like guys with like a boxing glove and like guys trying to like angle pick people and that, whereas now it does seem like people are coming in and the skill set's rounded, like everyone's good at everything.
Yeah, I definitely agree. When it first started, it was literally just people from styles fighting against each other and trying their style against them. Whereas now it is people who have maybe started with a style but then adopted everything else to be the best they can, you know. So yeah, it's certainly a, you know, a great thing to see. Yeah. So as I said, obviously when I got back to training, I did do elements of when I was younger. As I said, that kind of period where I was trialing different martial arts, I did dabble a little bit. I kind of landed myself in a little bit of boxing. Just the opportunity came up. Sorry, so I tried it out, loved it, but I kind of wanted to kick as well, obviously. So from that, I believe I got a little bit of a taste of Muay Thai, which by far is one of my favorite martial arts. It's brilliant. You know, it involves so many different movements and it's a very you know, brutal kind of
100%
you know, martial art, but it's brilliant. You know, and I love training in it. But yeah, as I said, when I first looked back, coming back to training, I did want to go back into Muay Thai, but then I thought about it, and there is gyms around here that do it. But I kind of thought, you know what, let's just go back to the foundations where it all started and just run with it. You know, not saying never, because you know the opportunity might come up, and I might be really keen on the idea of getting involved. But I want to, for the time being, especially for the next while, I want to be kind of just focused on what I do and keep going with Taekwondo as I am.
Yeah, man.
You know,
do you keep up with like combat sports as a fan as well at the same time as a competitor?
Not as much as I probably should, because I do really enjoy them. I just, to be honest with you, sometimes I just forget.
Yeah. So
I'm much more of a see the highlights, watch it.
Yeah, because they're on late as well.
Yeah, but I do really enjoy it. Like all the opportunities that I get where I kind of remember. Sounds funny, but one of the nights out we had recently with my mates, we were down in Glasgow, and while we were down there, we just remembered the UFC was on. So we'd been out on a night out, nightclubs, all that kind of stuff. 3 in the morning, we're back, and then got to the UFC and kind of sat and watched it. And again, I was absolutely in my element, because even if it's not predominantly your style you're watching, as a competitor, I would say I do really enjoy watching even other martial arts competing. You know, it's just, I suppose it's embedded in you when you do compete. You tend to have a much better understanding of, well, just how everyone, you know, is kind of probably feeling at that time, or how they're kind of, you know, how they're in that situation, and you just get to kind of see it all fold out. And it's nice to see so many different levels of competition kind of going up against each other. And it's just, it can be great, you know. Some fights are more entertaining than others. You know, some people prefer to see the grappling, some people prefer to see the stand up. But
that's why the competition is so vast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, fucking hell, man, you gotta be a wild to get anywhere near that. Yeah,
there's a lot of elements to it.
As you said, it's so rounded. Like, everybody's good at everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
So,
do you have any favorite fighters? Do you tend to like lean towards like strikers and that? Obviously, because it's like your base.
Yeah, if we're referring to UFC for I suppose an immediate one that everyone I suppose can kind of generalize with if they're, you know, familiar with. Not everyone's cup of tea, and probably a bit of a heated debate, but I'll always have a love for John Jones.
Oh man,
love the guy.
So good as a fighter.
As a fighter, brilliant.
Outside, not so good.
As a fighter, honestly, he was obviously. Again, I'd done a little bit of MMA when I was about 16. Loved it. Grappling wasn't so much for me. I have a massive appreciation for, you know, JiuJitsu and wrestling as far as grappling goes, because it's a serious talent. A lot of people maybe look and go, they're just wrestling.
Yeah, that's like one of the kind of casual things. Is like, why the hug got the floor? You know what I mean?
You don't understand until you've even tried just jiu-jitsu, for that example. Even like wrestling, I remember my first thing with wrestling being, I didn't realize how much movement goes into actually trying to perform like a single leg takedown. You know, I'm looking at it going, I would just like lean down. No, there's multiple steps before you actually get into the movement itself. Jiu-jitsu, the effort and stamina that is required to roll for an extended period of time. And again, I didn't do it for long. That was enough for me to kind of understand that it's a serious talent. So anyone that I see that's not only practicing jiu-jitsu, but actually they've got to a high level, massive amount of respect for them, because it's a serious talent. And it annoys me. This is where I'm coming from. It's not my cup of tea, but it annoys me when people kind of down it because it's just rolling about. It's not. No, it's a serious martial art, and I'd like to see anyone that that disagrees with that try it out and hold their own, because no matter how strong you think you are,
you're going to drown.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, some of the guys that I rolled with, up at the time it was Jiu-Jitsu Misfits,
SBG money.
Honestly, amazing. And the guys would just bombard you. They'd just be all over you. Like you're like, I feel like, I've got a grab of this, but you don't. No, you don't. And awesome. And again, I actually quite respect the idea that I think that's more inviting for some people, because you're not getting punched in the head and things like that. So as far as self-defense goes as well, I'm not going to generalize and say more for women and things like that, but just for anybody that maybe doesn't like the idea of getting hit, I think that's quite a nice one for them to kind of look at and go, well, I can do that and try that and see if they can get proficient in it.
And that's what
gives them a good bit of confidence, And
that's what jiu-jitsu is based around, isn't it? The smaller guy being able to beat the bigger guy with technique and stuff like that.
And it is exactly that. You'd be surprised. That's why I always kind of got the thing of, I like lifting weights and all that, but being really, really big doesn't essentially mean you're going to be strong nor capable in a defense situation, So.
Yeah, man, and we've got the likes of like Kevin McAloon and that absolutely killing it up there at the gym, Aiden as well, and so on and so forth. But so honestly, like, see when you combo stuff together, like I was watching this and it's like watching someone play a video game. I was saying to him last night,
saying that to me yesterday.
It's like from transitioning to like head kicks to spinning back kicks, all in like one movement. Is movement like something you're obsessed with? Because it's something you've mentioned multiple times as we've been talking just now. But like me just kind of looking at it like last night, like Jesus. Like,
I mean, like, again, it's not one of these trying to be humble things. I watch my fights back a lot, and it's not an ego thing. It's a learning. The main reason I like being videoed is to watch it back and see where I lacked.
You're looking for mistakes rather than what you did well.
Yeah, and I gave myself a lot of stick in this last competition because I felt I didn't feel the best when I'd done it. And you had won, but I didn't feel great about the way I'd carried myself because I didn't put out the plan. It happens. I didn't put out the plan exactly how I wanted to, and that sometimes because it's a game, I suppose, in a way. It's a game of chess. There's a lot of you make the correct movements at the right time, and and I just didn't do that to the ability that I know I could as well as I wanted to. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit. And as a fighter, like anyone will agree as well, you're quite critical of yourself more than anyone will ever be. And that's, again, a really difficult thing to kind of come away from. But I am critical of myself, and I know that, but I see that as a benefit for me because it allows me to progress and put in the extra work to actually better myself. So, was I angry with the result? No, but just some of the aspects of the performance could have been better. But that's why we have these tournaments and things to actually go and carry out your training, and then you see what you're doing wrong. Like, again, if anyone watched the block, they'll maybe say, "Oh, but you were striking plenty, this, that, the other." My range could be better. I was panicking a little bit, so there was multiple techniques that the opponent threw at me. I don't know if you can see with the video, but he was a lesser belt than me. So by lesser, I don't mean lesser as in less able. I just mean he was a lower belt than me. To which it was just a lack of bodies, weight class, and so they'd rather mate you with the correct weight,
kind of build,
as opposed to being so caught up on the belt. As I understood this time, before it used to be a much more, because there was more numbers. Stuff, When I was like 17, I fought at minus 75 kilos. and there was plenty of people in my division. You're always guaranteed at least 2 or 3 fights, which is fine on the day. That's good. It's fine. 2 or 3 matches. They're not very long, but this is what everyone forgets. They might, oh, you're only on for 2 minutes or whatever, but it's 2 minutes.
Yeah, of intensity.
At pace.
Yeah.
It's not nobody. As you get more experience, you'll kind of gauge people better. But when you get to a black belt and that, you're normally doing more than 1 round as well.
Yeah.
So within the first round, a lot of engaging what the other person's going to do. So, but yeah. As I said, watching it back, I still carried out a lot of the combinations because you've got things like compulsory techniques you've got to carry out, which is the spinning kicks everyone loves to see. And I always got a lot of praise for being very favourable of spinning techniques. And again, I always liked that I had other styles that I was training because it allowed me to adapt it into my Taekwondo training. So a lot of the punching, for example, I have more of an understanding, I suppose, of the fundamentals of punching. Where some people might be more the punch from here, they don't really put their shoulders into it. Just because that's the basis of when you start punching Taekwondo, you kind of come from your waist, you measure up, and then but that's the traditional way of doing it as you would do it in patterns, etc. But then people sometimes transfer it in mild segments into sparring, which doesn't work, obviously, especially when you get to a high level, because people are training in a very different aspect for sparring than they are for, the more traditional movements of patterns.
Is that where like the experimenting with boxing definitely kind of gave you a bit of an advantage with that?
I mean, the boxing helped. I mean, I only done it for a certain amount of time because I was doing it with the guys in the camp. One of my mum's friends that basically managed to get me into it. I was only about 15, 14 at the time, but
I remember.
It was Timmy, and but I think he'd got put on our post and things like that, so there was no one there for me to really go and do it with. So, but it was a good experience for me to then kind of go. That's what made me want to do more like Muay Thai MMA, because it went. I like the more full on, the more, because Taekwondo it's not full contact. It's not supposed to be a bit more controlled, more based off a point scoring than knockouts. Which everyone, that's where people kind of frown and go, oh, but trust me, watch some of the high level ITF matches. There's some serious talent there. I mean, I appreciate the comments about mine, and I'm not saying I'm not good, because I know I've got some sort of talent I must have to be, to be where I'm at already, and I've got so much more to progress into. But I look up to a lot of people in ITF as instructors as well. A lot of my instructors are very, very very good. They also compete, and these guys are sparring at a really serious level. You can see the breakdown of how everything kind of breaks out. Again, some of the fights can be more brawly, a bit more messy, but it's the technical. Again, as you're saying, I'm a much more aggressive spotter. This time I tried to work on more of my ring craft, so you'll notice I was moving around a lot. That was more because I try to explain to the kids as well, you don't want to be moving in a back and forth motion, because the more you get moved back, you press at the edge of the ring. If you get put out of the ring, you start basically getting penalised for doing that. Yeah. Because you've got to obviously know your area.
And that's one thing that I've probably never taken into account. Yeah. Taekwondo is a very quite a compact, compressed kind of area you're having to work in.
Yeah.
How do you train for making sure that you don't forget about that just because you are in like a fight?
I mean, I think obviously it's different for different aspects of Taekwondo, but we're just referring to sparring to keep it obviously simple in general. It's a basis that's covered quite a lot is when we're doing drills, we try to do it in a sparring setting, even if we're not physically fighting at the time, but we'll be hitting our own gloves, but we keep them at close range to the head to simulate as close as possible to be in a real combat situation, obviously. So the idea being is realism is you don't want to keep moving back in a straight line, because that stops eventually.
Yeah.
So you can move around someone, and you'll notice some of my earlier fights as well, I wasn't so much for moving around, I would rather just kind of stand there and but again, this is the difference of maturing slightly and realising, okay, I don't want it to be as scrappy. I want it to be more technical, in and out, score clean points, get out the way. The best way to not have a point scored on you is to not be there in the first place,
Hit and not be hit, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's definitely not just from a defence aspect, but from a ring craft aspect, I wanted to work on that more, and I did. So I was happy with that. I still kept I try to be more relaxed, keep my hands more fluid. Everyone kind of gets a bit debatable about your hands being low. A lot of people are very good with it though, because it can lure someone in and they can be quick enough to catch them. Some people it doesn't work, some people it does. I kind of have a mix of both. I never keep my hands right down, but I never keep them too tight. They're
Mexican
they're
style,
kind of about
boxing,
just because you're boxing different. It's different.
Yeah.
Okay, there's people like Roy Jones Jr.
Fantastic fighter.
That carry the very, again, a style that created a lot of debate, but it worked.
It was like beating James Toney at heavyweight and stuff like that.
You watch the man fight, and you can't deny what works. So I think again, you can't stick everyone in the same brush of style because, well, where would be the fun with that? Everyone's got to have their own style in some way. But there's certainly a few names in the ITF kind of world that are memorable names that you see them compete and you just think, wow, like that's the level you want to be at.
When you think of it more technically, do you think that's also in relation to you maturing as, obviously you're a man as compared to a teenager when you left, but maturing as a fighter also?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll not lie, when I was younger, when I got to that point of realising, right, okay, I can fight and I love this, I'd go out in my sparring matches, and to be honest with you, I was in my element, albeit on the nerves and all that. I just wanted to get as much hits. I just really get stuck in as I could. But then the more I looked at more advanced fighters, I realised that they're not just standing, scrapping for 2 minutes. They're actually in and out. They're moving more. They're picking their shots better. Their distance better. Like, why punch when you can kick?
Yeah.
Meaning, if I kick you, you're going to be a lot further away from me
the
than if I punch
is
you.
Different.
And I mean, I normally, if you see some of my matches, probably the majority of them, I'm normally a bit stockier, but also a lot shorter than the people I compete against. But that's, again, I try to keep the range, and I normally just cut in and just kind of close the range down, because that's where, I suppose, not comparing myself to Mike Tyson, but if you notice the way he obviously spot,
he
was a much smaller person, in
getting inside
aspects,
and having to
use. Instead of letting the reach kind of get on top of him, he was cutting.
They might be taller than you, but it doesn't stop your feet landing on their dome.
This is it. This is it. I mean, I had a few, I'll not get into too many names of that, but there was a guy I sparred in a kickboxing setting who he's local, or he was local, quite a tall person, 6'3" or so, I believe, so pretty tall. I caught him numerous times with spinning kicks to the head. So regardless of height and that, with the right technique and right distance and timing, you can still fit these things in. But I'd say my style has been adapted to the fact that I'm normally shorter, hence I normally kind of not bulldogging, but I try and get stuck in.
You have to, because if you stay on the outside, it's to your detriment.
But I mean, I think when I get to the goal is to get to the higher level of national team side of things. So getting on the Scotland team's a big thing for me. That's one of my goals that I'm trying to accomplish within the next year, to hopefully get to the next Europeans, which are, I believe, April time next year in Rimini in Italy. So that's one of my goals that I've got set, is to progress to that, because the level that you compete at there is it's night. National competition, I'm not saying it's easy, but compared to international competition, and again, I'm not saying this from experience, I'm just saying it from what I've seen, it's
do you relish challenges?
Yeah.
You can't, if you were just to dominate something over and over again, would you have to push yourself to a higher level? You couldn't just...
I mean, I think, again, different for everyone, but with me having a very competition-based mindset, I'm not exactly competing if I'm continuously just going through the motions. So I always have to be better than myself in some way or the other. So as far as competition goes, I always want to find the next level. I mean, again, that doesn't mean, to me, one of the highest levels you can be, bar grade side of things, from competition aspect, would be progressing to, for me, Scotland team as a black belt and competing at Europeans, Worlds. That's high level. Let's be honest, that's practically not as high as it gets, but that is pretty high in terms of competing, because you're competing against people from all over the world. And that's where you really get a challenge, because I mean, the countries that dominate, these Europeans, not say Scotland and England don't have good results, because they do, but countries that dominate are Russia, Ukraine, Czech
It's
Republic.
the Eastern European countries.
I mean, they
dominate quite often.
The training is kind of, like I said, training's really different. I suppose probably from a young age as well. A lot of them train very very hard, you know, and you can see that in the way they spar. You know, they're technical, but a lot of heart, a lot of grit. You know,
a lot of their things seems to, because it translates to boxing as well. You see the likes of like guys like Vasily Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk and that. Apparently, like Ukrainian or Eastern European dancing's involved in that for the movement and stuff like that. So I'd imagine it would probably translate well over multiple kind of combat sports and the striking element, at least. I mean, anyway.
Again, I suppose, and it's not trying to take a very general view of it, but I suppose as well, there's the aspect of your surroundings shape you as well, you know. So you think of Russia as a very cold, harsh place.
Tough place.
So you got to be tough in an aspect at least. I've met very few Russians that haven't been, you know, just tough people, you know. So, but I tell you what, like from the few I have met, lovely, you know, lovely people until you're, you know, then it's sparring, then it's game on. And again, I've never sparred against any Russians, but I do hope to spar against not even just Russians, just anybody outside of the UK that can give me a totally different taste to what I've had before, because that's the goal, is to learn and to progress. So yeah, I
suppose a lot of people wouldn't understand that in a way, because with putting yourself against higher competition, you're putting yourself more at risk of losing, right?
Higher risk, yeah.
And people would be like, well, I want to win, I don't want to, you know what I mean? But like you said, it's all about learning and that.
Then there's no progress. You don't progress then. Do you know what I mean?
No, this is it. I mean, we have a constant debate, not debates, but we have a constant conversation and training regarding some of the people that have competed at the European level. And they'll constantly like to highlight the difference in the competition that you're going to see, i.e. it's just a totally different level. Yeah, something I definitely want to know. And obviously, I do have a very good understanding of that. But I also see in front of me another man that, you know,
2 arms, 2 legs.
You've always said that.
And that to be, exactly as Jamie said, regardless of my ability to defend myself, I've always tried to have that mindset of, well, what's he got that I don't? And it wasn't until I progressed more in my and that's it. At the end of the day, it's who wants it more. You know, yeah, you can be, obviously, it's, talent has to come into it. You have to have good training, good skill, but I always can add on myself that I'll give it my absolute best, and even if the result isn't the one I want, you know, I've never lost in Taekwondo. I was in ITF since I started ITF. I've been competing at the level obviously I haven't lost, but that doesn't mean I don't welcome the loss, because it will happen eventually. It has to. You know, it's one of the things that will come, and I'm not going to say it would be the Europeans, but if it's going to be anywhere, I would like to think it's going to be at that level, because that'd be that's where the step up's going to be serious, and I do welcome it, because win, lose, draw, all of it's a learning experience.
And it's funny that you mentioned Roy Jones earlier, because I was actually watching a roundtable with him, and he got like robbed at the Olympics or something on point. I mean, boxing's quite a corrupt sport at a professional level, as we all know, but he was talking about, because he was defeated for ages before that. Yeah. And he was like, I was so scared of losing that 0. And he's like, when I did, that's when I became free, and that's when I developed this whole new style and won the world championships. Like, I don't think that would have happened had I just been like, oh, I just need that. Yeah. Because it's almost, in a way, like, because everyone loses in life at something, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to just be professional, it can be outside, and almost being scared of losing in general of anything is almost like an insecurity within itself.
100%, yeah. I mean, the thing is, when you work really hard to maintain that level and not, I don't want to say the streak's the big thing, because I don't think it really is, but having known that you've done so well as to compete at a level where you haven't actually lost yet, it's an achievement. It's something to be proud of, but it can also I suppose it can come against you, because if you're so fearful of losing, I believe that is one of the things that, albeit I tell myself it doesn't bother me, I think subconsciously somewhere deep in my head there is that, just as a human nature. No one wants to lose.
No one wants to lose.
You know, no matter, I say I welcome it, it doesn't mean I want it.
Yeah.
It just means I know that it can't, and I'm not going to let it ruin me.
It's almost like, you know, like Messi's only.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you put them in different things. It's a similar.
100%. Yeah.
It's the same thing. But, so, I mean, someone that's close to you, you've always been extremely focused. Like, extremely focused. And he would smash the bag for hours. And he'd video himself all the time. And then he would watch a video and then he'd be like, oh, no, that was wrong. And then he'd do it again. And he'd be like, I like, okay, a little bit better. And he would just keep going. And he would just do it for hours with his music in his ears. He'd send me videos. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, that bug's fucked.
I mean, this is as I said, biggest critique of Mullen is myself, but yeah, it's a
healthy way to be that though.
Yeah,
as long as you don't go over the top with it, and
of course,
some people can beat themselves down.
I've now got to a point where I've came back to my training now. I wouldn't say I'm not as focused. I'm more relaxed at the moment because I know I'm not competing again until November time. That is the UK Championships. That's a much bigger step up from the Scottish. So in the UKTA, which is the association that I'm in for ITF Taekwondo, essentially our year, I believe, starts with the English. I believe it goes English, Scottish, London, Welsh, UK. And that's the kind of breakdown of how they kind of go through. London and UK are both in Guildford.
Guildford, okay.
So it's a nice stretch away. I've competed there twice, which was the London Open I done in 2015, I believe, and the UK Open I done the same year. And the setting is just, I much more welcome that setting because the numbers are more serious. Do
you now that you're in this kind of place of being comfortable competing, do you enjoy the bigger kind of environments rather than the more kind of?
It's not even the crowds that I enjoy more. It's the more it's the higher chance of different competition.
Yeah,
that's what I really enjoy, and that's what gets me excited. I actually got quite worried down at the Scottish because I'd never competed as an adult, and then people were thinking, "Oh, so you were worried about, because you're as an adult, you're basically competing against anyone from 18 to 35.
Yeah,
and between 18 and 35." Okay, the younger person can maybe have more stamina from someone who's 34, but the maturity and experience that that person can have, can be a lot. Now, I like to think, even at the age I'm at, unfortunately, not so much to just my competition side of things, just fighting in general, plenty of it has matured me in the sense of I don't fear fighting in any aspect because if something has to happen, it has to happen. I don't fear that, which I don't see as a bad thing because I don't just mean I'll fight any person.
Yeah.
What I mean is if any person puts me in a position to have to fight,
then you're willing to accept that. You're not just
but I've also got the ability to stand back and look at it in a non what's the word you look for?
A diplomatic kind of way.
Yeah, but it also not an overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. So if someone basically confronts me, I like to think with the experience and the ability that I've got and the experience that I've had,
you're going to remain calm in that situation.
Exactly that. I can maintain a very good level of just calmness and see that as a de-escalating mechanism more than anything. That can win a fight more than any punch you can throw because and again, winning a fight isn't just knocking someone out. The fight could be just avoiding the fight altogether.
Yeah,
which I would much rather do because let's be honest, the legal repercussions. And again, one wrong hit on someone can do some serious damage.
100%. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of people that get in fights at pubs and settings like that could probably definitely benefit from learning from.
Yeah, well, probably hurt a few people's feelings here, but not quite bothered. The average person you get that goes out on nights out, your average, 18 to let's say 30-year-old, just as a general kind of, plenty of them will all say.
I would agree with that.
They all portray themselves a certain way. The ones I'm on about. It's just the people that carry themselves like they're 10 men, haven't had an actual competitive fight in their life. Going out and having a wee brawl outside some of the pubs in Lossy or whatever doesn't make you a fighter.
No, it's an insecurity isn't it?
And I see the people that actually, I know of a few people in Lossy particularly that I've had run-ins with, merely because of their attitude, which is surely based off of small town syndrome, people bigging them up to be hard. Because they've had a few street fights that they've won. Well, anyone can get pissed out their head and go brawl with someone. Especially when I've known someone close to us who they've done it in numbers with. That doesn't make you, a fighter. Me, that makes you a scumbag.
Yeah,
makes you a coward.
Yeah.
So, as far as that kind of people go, I love it when they think that going and punching someone's really smart, on a night out. Especially when they get to a point where, you know, between the coke and the drink and all that, where they believe they can start on any person. You don't have a clue. As I said, someone can carry themselves really aggressively and all that and be a fighter. Someone can carry themselves as calm as anything
and be a fighter.
A little do you know that calm person is probably a very skilled fighter of that.
If you see Jackie Chan in the bar, he didn't know he was Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like this, like Jackie Chan's getting old now,
yeah,
right? Mm-hmm. He's in having a drink, and you fuck that guy off, he's got to kill you.
100%.
And the last thing you would expect from him is that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So something I've always been
aware of that.
Yeah. Proper decent level fighters don't carry themselves that way.
No.
Street brawlers carry themselves that way. They're not fighters.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's like an insecurity, right? It's usually the drinking that brings it out of these people.
Like Jamie will tell you, I mean, even before I could drink, I was a fan of going out, clear my head, and walking around Lossy. With music in, or it'd be a quick jog, a walk. The amount of times that I got jumped by people out in the pubs that were a lot older than me.
Yeah.
And I held my own, but what if it was someone else?
Yeah, exactly.
I was, 14, 15 some of these times? And these men they were older than Jamie by a stretch. You know, these were men that were probably early 20s. One person can really hurt someone, let alone numerous.
Yeah.
So situations like that, 100%, I'm glad that I know the stuff I do. But even people, not everyone's wired that way. You know, some people, it might have been better for me to run away, but this comes to another aspect of it. I can't run away. I don't mean that as in I just physically can't run away. No. I physically cannot run away. I'm asthmatic. If I run, I then run the risk of having an asthma attack, being attacked. And if I'm having an asthma attack and someone attacks me on top of that, that's game over. So would I rather stand there and potentially take a few shots and I have to give a few? Yeah. But as far as people with that mentality go, I don't stand by it at all, you know.
And it's strange why people try to glorify that type of behavior sometimes.
That's terrible.
Like when we had Aiden on, the guy Lee that my friend Lee, I should say, not the guy, my friend Lee that also helps out with the podcast. He had showed me something a few weeks beforehand of Aiden coming on, and someone had put something up on Instagram. It was called Murray Fights. It was like obviously a group of teenagers at one of these schools, and it was like people like in these situations of gangs of people attacking one person and kind of like making. But as soon as Aiden and Kevin that had seen this and they commented, those things had disappeared because obviously they knew at that point, like, oh my god, actually this is someone that,
this is someone that's gonna break my jaw.
It's. I mean, when I was in high school, ask different people, they probably have a lot of different opinions on me. Not that I could care less, because if you know me well enough, you know where it came from and why certain things had to happen. Or sorry, why certain things did happen. And probably didn't have to, but unfortunately did. You know. So for me, when I was in high school, there was a few fights. Right, anyone that was in high school can say the same. Unfortunately for me, a lot of them I was involved in. So I didn't have a great reputation then. But I didn't do the things I've done to have a reputation. I've done the things I've done to just get on with my life, you know. And Jesus, I mean, I thought when I moved back here that people were going to be a bit more understanding of, you know, okay, he's got alopecia, you can't help it. Polar opposite. Kids are just cruel regardless. That is it. That is just
cultures, man.
Buck stop. Kids are just cruel. And they don't care. They don't want to know why. They just want to be...
They just want to take the piss out of you in front of everyone.
Yeah.
To make them feel fucking...
The same...
Another insecurity again.
And that can pull us back around actually quite good. That's a very, very, very good point to make. That same people who are doing that is the same people who are out in the pubs.
Pubs doing that stuff now.
Fighting each other.
That's a great point.
And I was always disliked. I mean, I can remember a few situations. We were in the centre when I would have been about 14 at the time. It's just when I moved back. Someone who's got a reputation for being quite not violent, but just happily hit you with weapons or you name it. I can remember us sitting there. I mean, Jimmy was the same. Like, anyone said anything, okay, he's in a wheelchair, but didn't bother him any.
You can't let people take fucking advantage.
I mean, people would try. You get an occasional person to go, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And I knew fine and well that he had no issue, literally wiping out the chair and giving it his all, because what's a fight compared to the stuff he's already went through?
Yeah.
Nothing. Literally nothing. 13-hour odd operation over some little dick he can't hold his mouth like,
Yeah, dude.
And that's it. You get these people that have that level of just that lack of knowledge and that level of disrespect over someone. That's just a prime example of why martial arts might actually help certain people,
Because it humbles people, right? It
100%.
People feel like they need a power dynamic, and they will try and use it on people they think are below them in the food chain, for lack of a better term. But like, definitely with martial arts, from speaking to people that are involved in said arts, seems to humble people to a point of where they don't. Not only does it give you the perspective of, I don't need this in my life, I'll just avoid this. Obviously, if you can, like, some people take it to a situation where it has to be dealt with, but at the same time, it would make people probably think of how they've acted previously if they've been that. And I'm not saying that people that have maybe indulged in that behavior before can't turn around and then apologize for it. Causes,
because I mean, I do believe that some people generally probably do feel remorseful for certain things they've done. I know for a fact 1 or 2 people that I'd had altercations with in high school due to the way they were treating me regarding my condition. Because it was 9 out of 10 times because of my condition. There was very few times I had certain other people who just had a reputation already, genuinely upset about me having a reputation that I didn't ask for in the first place. And fights, unfortunately, did come out of that. But I mean, looking back at it, I can see certain people that I think, people that I know for a fact are remorseful for having treated me a certain way, and I'm perfectly open to forgiving people. I class myself as a forgiving person, but I will always remember if someone has done something to upset me or someone in my vicinity. And when I say my vicinity, I mean really close friends and family, because after that, it doesn't extend past me. I'll look out for anyone until they give me a reason not to. Then it's, as far as I can see, us. Well, if you're not welcoming the help, then why should you?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the oldest of 6. So I have a lot of siblings to look out for. And when I say 6, I mean 6 just in lossy. I've got another 3 brothers in Forest. Realistically, I say I'm the oldest of all them. I am. From my stepfather, I've got my older sister who, she's older than me. She's got her stuff sorted. But if someone, upset her in any way, I'd be straight to her beck and call, And I suppose I've got quite a protective nature over my family, especially. Again, with having such a close family, but it's certainly a bonus, I would say.
Yeah, 100%.
Because, well, everyone has different experiences in life, and I like to say that not so much having them the ability to kind of go, I know if something happens to me that Conan can help, but more knowing that they could come to me for the help. That doesn't necessarily mean I will physically go and sort it. But I can at least advise them in the right way to deal with it, and that's more the help I'd like them to look for. So
I'm the one advising you not to do so.
Exactly that. Yeah, you've got Jamie on the other end.
The advisor of the advisor.
Yeah, basically. So it's, as I said, with having matured a bit more, I've got a better ability to kind of distinguish certain the right thing to do in certain situations. Whereas I will happily say I was a lot more hot-headed in high school.
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
a lot.
But obviously,
you're
going through like stuff, even like puberty and stuff.
Oh Jesus,
teenage years, you know what I mean? Like,
there's many situations though, like, but he just wanted to act. But not here.
I do believe, and I'm not using excuses, but I do believe a lot of the problems stemmed from the amount of bullying that I did sustain.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I mean, some of the stuff that had happened growing up, I look back and I think, Jesus, that was pretty heavy.
And they deserve nothing more than that.
Yeah.
But then again, they were kids at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did stupid shit in high school that I regret doing.
I mean, I think even between us, we had some silly things that I don't essentially regret them happening because they did shape me.
Yeah.
But you think, why did it happen, in the first place? But it's nothing mental.
No,
just more stupid thing. Like, Jesus, we used to fight all the time. Like, between me, him, and his brother and my cousin Stuart. Honestly, like, and I mean, I don't even mean just like little fights. I mean, we would give each other an absolute hiding, And here's us all boisterous and setting in about each other until this hatch in my granny swung open, and then we all quickly share ourselves with our 5 foot fuck all granny, who is literally 6 stone wet. Yeah. Good fuck with granny though,
No, definitely not.
And I tell you what, she was
fuck that.
Oh no. I mean, our granddad's he's a very tough individual. I don't just mean he can fight. I just mean he's a tough person.
Yeah.
Very liked in Mossy.
Mr. Walker.
Yes,
exactly. Very well.
Doesn't take any shit.
No, definitely not.
And you ask anyone that's been in a talk with him that said the wrong thing at the wrong time, probably tell you that he's arrogant because he's told him to fuck off. Because he doesn't care.
You got to know how to take him as well.
Yeah.
And he did pass a lot of that don't take shit mentality onto us as a whole, which isn't a bad thing technically, because it doesn't just mean hitting someone if they say something you don't like, but standing your ground when you know you have to.
Not letting people take advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
Walk over you and shit.
Because like I've got a younger brother, I won't name him, but we all know who he is, who obviously love him a bit, but he's very soft in his head, if you will. He's very easily persuaded. Concerns me because he doesn't particularly pick the best company.
Okay.
But he is my brother. So I have a responsibility to look after him, albeit he makes that harder than it has to be. But he's grown up. He's learning. He's 18.
We'll let him make mistakes.
But we have to make mistakes to learn from
100%.
them. And I like to hope he will learn from them, But I think out of any of them, he concerns me more than any of them because he's more likely to do something silly.
Being with the wrong crowd and say something and do something.
Yeah. But I know at the same time, he has got a bit of backbone he knows what's wrong and what's right. But he can't be there to baby people. That doesn't help him any. That definitely doesn't help.
And I suppose that's kind of coming to terms with the balance of being that kind of protective figure. Like you have to let people have their own
100%. I mean, as I said, it's terrible. I can remember my mum worked in pubs for quite a lot of her
your
life.
mum's Tracy, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Julie and
Kelly's her other auntie. But to be fair, fuck, you want to go to the three of them, I probably wouldn't fuck with any of them, to be quite honest with you. Again, you look at them, you don't think much, but Kelly, to be fair, out of any of them, Kelly's just nuts. Yeah. But this is the thing, the family, you kind of see the circle now. The family, in their own way, everyone's got their own little.
I've seen Kelly. I would not fuck that.
Well,
I wouldn't fuck with her, no chance.
So I don't know if you've seen the story about the people that occupied my toilet that one night on the podcast a few months ago. Did you not see it? No, well, I'll go into it again because your Auntie Kelly's involved in this, believe it or not.
That sounds about right, though, yeah.
So she wasn't occupied in my toilet, let me just say. But
I was going to say, where's this fucking story going?
So I fell asleep on the couch one night, right? I think I was messing about with batteries for the cameras or something.
Yeah.
And my mum was out, and she was out with Kelly because like my mum and my auntie and that are like good mates with your mums and Kelly and that. And I woke up to a phone call from my mum saying there's people in the house, and I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no one here. I couldn't hear anything. It was like 3 a.m. and I was like, why are you not home? Because I've got the door not open but unlocked. Because I think I've lost my key or something at that point. So I was like, hurry up home because I've already fallen asleep twice. Like I'm not doing a very good like guard job. But she was like, her brother saying that there's people in the house. So I go through and I'm like, what's up? There's 3 people in the toilet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, they're knocking at the door and said that they're mum's mates. And I'm like, and that's all it took? That's all it took to let them in? So then I went to the door and I knocked. Nothing. I heard nothing, which you would thought like there would have been movement or someone would have responded. It's like, oh, he's just talking nonsense. He's just like complaining so my mum gets home quicker. So I went back through and was like, what are you on about? And he's like, there's people in there. And I'm like, there's not. He's like, try again. So I go back through again and then I notice the light is on this time. So I'm like, okay, that happens. Someone forgets to switch the light off. I'm going to open this door. It's going to reveal no one's there. The door's locked. So like, okay, so there is someone in there. And then like 10 seconds after that, I just hear like, it wasn't anyone threatening. So I didn't like take it too serious. I mean, it's bad. You shouldn't break and enter into people's house.
Yeah, of course.
But it wasn't like people robbing or being threatened or anything. Yeah. But what her name was, but some girl replied, it's so-and-so. And that's when I kind of like, who? Like,
who's that?
So they're like, we're just coming out. And I'm like, okay. But it was actually my next door neighbor. We'll tell you who that is after we're finished here.
Right.
And apparently he had not fisticuffs, but an argument. It was weird though, because I was like, because he said, I'm your neighbor, and I was like, I know that. That doesn't make me any more.
Still understand why you're here though.
Yeah, why are you in my toilet at 3 a.m? And then he was like, oh, I've just had an argument. Someone's threatened to batter me across the road. I was like, right. Again, this is not helping
this is
me
not my
get
problem.
to how you got to my toilet. So he was like, we're just leaving. And I'm like, you know what? I'm way too tired for this. Just go. So then I phoned my mum back and I was like, yeah, you know what? He was right. There was people in the house, and she was like, right, we're just coming back. I know, I'm just coming back. So I was like, thank God, I'm gonna get my bed here. And so my mum comes back in a minibus, and in there is two of her mates and your Auntie Kelly, and your Auntie Kelly comes in and speaks to my younger brother, I should say. And he said what happened in that, and she's like straight round, like knocking on the door. And I'm like, it got to the point, because you know what, I love your family, guys, but it did get to the point at 5 a.m. I was like, can everyone please just leave my house? I really want to.
That sounds like us at any of our family gatherings, to be honest.
No, but that's the thing, right? Kelly goes out and forgets to go fucking home.
Yeah, she's great. That's it. She's awesome. See if you're looking for a really good party.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to hawk it, because honestly, the women can go for.
She'll keep going.
Yeah. The machine.
See, like, ever since she turned, like, Kelly's been looking after me when I was a kid, right? So she would have been like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd take me into town, right? With all her friends. So I was like a fucking toddler. And I'm going to be, this is like 1998. And I'm fucking.
The old days.
I'm thinking I'm one of the big kids. And I'm fucking about with all these, like. And she would take me out. She would always get in trouble because we'd go to McDonald's. McDonald's had just opened in Elgin at this point, right? Anyway, so she's been getting me in trouble since then.
Yeah, pretty much.
And she's still the same. She's not changed, eh?
No.
Never.
She's definitely not as hot-headed as she was, but she's still got that streak 100%.
Found the balance.
Having the mask.
No, definitely not. I didn't say it like a mean way. I just said, look, I'm really tired. I've been woken up at 3 a.m. A lot of shit has happened tonight.
I mean, I'm not lying. If I was in said position, regardless of it being my family or not, I'd probably be like,
yeah,
what the fuck are we
doing
here?
I would have been like, fuck off, just get out.
Because honestly, I can explain to you multiple times that we've ended up like after parties, not after just family gatherings, and we're like, right, no, there's just people struggling at this point. And I love a party as much as anyone, but against a point, sometimes you're like, what are we even doing?
There is a point where
it's when you look at each other and you go,
this is the time. Yeah. This is way past the time.
This is the bad time when Conan feeds me Bombay Sapphire. That was the story I told you about the Bombay Sapphire. It was him. His fault.
Oh, that was entertaining. That was fucked. Right, was I going with Sam at that? I think
that fucked me up.
I might have been going with Sam at that point, but I remember, like, one of the times anyway we'd been together, normally very good when we get together drinking, because you like to encourage each other to do stupid shit. And I think it was your 21st, was it? Somebody thought it was a good idea to buy him a bottle of Bombay Sapphire.
The next day was quite fun.
So we
do you remember any of it?
No.
We thought, well, I just remember saying, let's shot it. And nothing after that.
I don't like gin.
I hate gin. Yeah.
I don't like gin now because of that.
It's an acquired taste, but there's no way in hell you'll see me touching it again, because the destruction that portrayed the next day was.
Yeah,
I can't look at the bottle.
The taste of a specific alcohol that gets you in a bad place, it stays with you for the rest of time.
Yeah, Sambuca's another one.
Unfortunately for me, it's Tequila Rose Sambuca, and I used to love. Auntie Kelly's fault. I used to love refresher bombs.
Oh yeah.
And I got obsessed with making them on pre-drinks when I first got my house and everything like that. And I actually went to Inverness on a day out, and I was hunting for aftershocks. I couldn't find it in Elgin. Turns out the Buccaneer sold it all along, as many other things that the Buccaneer always sold. Probably shouldn't have, but they sold everything. And we went in there, and I was there. So all right, nice. And this is the first time I could never drink it again. Was every night out I'd always have it. Went back to my house and I poured a massive measure of it. Like, be greedy. Didn't realise how sickly aftershock it was. And obviously made a very tiny amount of Red Bull or whatever. I don't think it was Red Bull, I think it was like the 32p like off-brand energy stuff. Like, it wasn't even a merge. I think it was the stuff down from that, And it was Boost or something like that, and then chucked it in, drink it. You may as well drink some petrol, like, and then next thing you know, I just straight away started spewing. And I was like, that was it. That smell, taste, and everything just always comes back as an issue. It's like,
yeah, man, been there.
That was just like that Sambuca. I think it was your 18th.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
he was 18 and he comes into the coolie and we just he looked at each other, like, woofed. And I had to go home early.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I fucked it.
Aye. I mean, I told you about the Glenn's vodka last time, or 2 weeks ago. The one,
Glenn's vodka.
Glenn's is a dangerous way. I'm a vodka man.
I lost a good pair of glasses to that drink.
Too.
So.
Yeah, I love a good vodka. I'm too cheap for Grey Goose, unfortunately, because
it's like £50 a bottle.
Yeah, I am myself, and I don't drink enough to warrant buying it. But when I do drink, I tend to really go for it. So I can't warrant a nice drink like Glenn's, like Grey Goose.
See, like I that was my drink of choice, right?
Yeah.
But I would buy a bottle nearly every week, and it was like 30 quid in the co-op, and I was stupid enough to pay it because you would get it elsewhere for cheaper, right? But I would buy it anyway, and it was just so much better. The class, it was just such more class. But I actually got into drinking that Absolute Raspberry stuff.
Yes, remember us drinking that at one of your birthdays as well.
That's brilliant. That stuff. That's really good.
Smooth drink. But yeah, it's nothing will ever quite touch a good old glass of Imperial, will it?
Yeah,
that's the stuff that does the damage.
You ever tried a pink polar bear?
What the hell is a pink polar bear?
I can't. My Auntie Kelly told me what it was.
I was going to say, I can't remember what it's made of, but it's nice.
She used to work in the Cooley, obviously.
Yeah.
Barmaid, right? And I remember there would only be so many people that knew what it was.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go to every barmaid. And I don't know if every barmaid knew what it was. But Kelly would make it, and I think Cheryl would make it, and whatever.
Yeah.
I think your auntie might have made it.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. I used to go up and get it. It would cost you like $5. And it was worth it. And it wasn't much. It was like a glass like this size. And I would fuck you.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you remember the worst investment the Cooley ever made was that vodka shot machine with the flavors? Do you remember that? The crispy bacon in that. No one ever bought it.
Oh, I can't say I was. I can't
no
say
one
I
even
was.
bought the good ones.
I forgot about that.
I would say I don't think I was ever. I don't think I was out and about at that kind of point. But
vodka with
that sounds entertaining. Like.
The bacon.
They spent so much money on it as well. This literally, I think it went one night because it was straight vodka with like a hint of what was in it. So there was like,
I'm off Vossbox that bacon stuff.
Bad. It was real. Like I'm not even joking. Like that's top 5.
Oh no, I do often associate bad decisions with the Cooley, like, you know, like fueling your stomach, or sorry, just say nights out, lining your stomach with scampi fries bacon
fries.
Yeah, bacon fries and the scampi ones, and then thinking you can then go on an absolute sesh after it and wonder why you're absolutely destroyed the next day. You know, it's like, very good. But here,
I used to live in that place.
Same. It's like, I mean, my mum used to work over there as well, and then when because it was, I didn't really know where I was going to go when I turned 18. It was kind of like I was like one of the older ones in my group, so it was like, where to go? And then my Uncle Kev, Auntie Jackie's partner, went over there for a pint, and then it just got to the point where like more and more people became 18, and we're just all in there.
It was a really good place for a long time.
Yeah,
like,
man.
You know.
May it rest in peace.
Yeah, I was going to say, was being the key word, past tense, and 100% I shall stick to that, because, it was.
I mean, me and Forrester would be out there like 5 days a week, maybe. Like,
it was almost like a hotel for
the
regulars.
I know. Like when because he would be offshore, he was offshore at the time, so I would just like meet him again. Like when he was home, we'd be out all the time. You'd order like chippies and Pino's and everything over there.
That was when you could actually get food delivered there.
Yeah,
which was awesome.
Again, let's just reflect and
the good times.
Leave the past where it is. Yeah.
Even if you weren't supposed to do that, they didn't give a shit. The amount of money we were spending in that joint, they didn't give a fuck.
And half of it outside wasn't dug up either. But anyway, we have been going for almost 2 hours here. Thank you very much for the time, dude. I thought I would just ask one more question before we let you go.
Yep.
It's kind of what I've asked every kind of combat sports person that's been on, is just what overall martial arts has done for your life, and where do you think it would have been had it not been in your life, or you hadn't came across?
Nice one. So overall, as I said, it's given me a great sense of values that I never had before. You know, I wouldn't have really came across if I hadn't trained martial arts. So it gave me a lot of confidence, allowed me to be more disciplined in my life, be able to set goals and actually carry them out. That's probably one of the biggest things, to be honest with you, is the ability to actually sit and go, right, this is my goals. You've got to have goals, you know. I'm going to now go and chase them and carry them out, you know. So that was definitely one of the biggest things I'd say that I achieved, was the learning of realising that setting goals is it's an accomplishing thing. it allows you to put a lot of focus on, on your life in general. I don't just mean setting goals in martial arts, just in your life. I want to be here. I want to do this. Just So yeah, definitely one of the biggest things for me. And as I said, allowing me to kind of progress as a person, just in all aspects. Really, it's I can't get into it too much because it's such a wide variety of. But in all sense, it bettered me as a person for the 100% undoubtedly bettered me as a person. So. Yeah, as in where I think I wouldn't be, where I think I would be if I didn't have it in my life. Honestly, I wouldn't have any good answer for that in the sense of nothing good, I don't think, came out of it because, well, I look at it this way. What would be the alternative if I didn't train? Now, I could arguably say that it would be what I was doing before I came back to training, but I believe, and this sounds silly, I believe the focus that I applied in my training also made me apply that to my hobby of the cars and that as well. Did you ask anyone when I set my mind to do something on a car, how big or how small, I will do it. And when most people are sitting going, I wouldn't be doing that out there, outside. Again,
is it an obsession for you?
Having that motivation, the way that I apply my mentality in martial arts, allowed me to do the same with my work, which also happens to be my hobby. I work in the motor trades. I love cars, bikes, all of it. Great. So, had I not have done martial arts, I believe I wouldn't have attained the mentality that I have. So I wouldn't have then not only not progressed in a career aspect, I genuinely believe I would have settled for, and it's not pounding at anyone that does any of the jobs that they might believe I'm referring to, but just your bog standard kind of run-of-the-mill jobs.
Yeah.
Just that people do just for the sake of earning a wage. That's just not me. I would rather do something I have a passion for. So that means not saying doubting them jobs. It's just if that's your passion, that's fine, but it's not mine, obviously. So yeah, I believe I would have just been stuck in some sort of job if I was even that motivated, or just generally not really worried about where I was at, not really focused on where I was going. And yeah, I would dare to say I would just be one of these people that believes that going out on the piss every weekend was the answer of life itself.
Yeah, just coasting.
Yeah, just getting through the motions, and yeah, I can't see any sort of good outcome. Obviously, I can't predict what would have happened, but from my point of view as to where I thought I would have been, just based off seeing people that have progressed in life the same way. I say progressed, just coasted through life in the same way.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'd be anywhere worth looking at. I would just be another person who's just doing the same shit every week without any sort of outlook to better themselves.
Awesome, dude. Best of luck for future competition and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll have you back on again.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Once you've cleaned house again.
That's it.
I imagine you have a treasury room in that house with all the gold that you've picked up over the time.
Got a few, Got a few nice sets of medals, a few bronzes and silvers as well, but yeah, a few golds. So yeah, as I said, UK Championships next. That's the next goal, and then from there, it's push hard for the black belt because it's a big step, and providing all that, and I can get the right effort in that I need to, the right amount of work, go for the Scotland team, get the Euros out of the way. So
sweet, man. And I appreciate everything else that we spoke about today, and the feeling that you can speak to. I mean, obviously, I know you know Jamie really well.
Yeah.
Come and speak to us about it, like publicly on this and that. And,
yep.
Pleasure as always, sir. I will get back. Well, we'll see each other in 2 or 3 weeks after this little mini hiatus.
Yep.
Of the summer is over, and we'll see you for episode 58. This is 57. So.
Awesome.